Ndabasuhuza mu izina ry'umwami wacu Yesu Kristo, kaze mwese muri uyu mwanya mu isaha y'agaciro.
I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, and I welcome you in this hour of value.
Amahoro ya Yesu Kristo abane namwe.
May the peace of Jesus Christ be with you.
Turi ku itariki ya 15 kwezi kwa gatandatu 2024.
It is June 15, 2024.
Ndimo ndabaganiriza ku bijyanye n'ibihe bya nyuma ndetse n'ibimenyetso by'ibihe bya nyuma.
I'm sharing with you about the signs of end times and also about the end of the age.
Turaganira ku magambo magufi ku bijyanye turavuga ku ntambara iri hagati y'Ubushinwa na Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika.
And today we'll talk about the war that is between the China and the United States of America.
Igihe ba Daniel barotaga,
when Daniel dreamed,
cyangwa se abami
or the kings
ba
dreamed,
Daniel bagasobanura,
and Daniel would interpret the dreams,
akenshi byavugaga ku ngoma zizakurikira.
most often they will talk about the upcoming reigns or kingdoms.
Ubwami ukuntu buzava wakajya ubundi.
How a kingdom will be replaced by another kingdom.
Ukuntu yabonaga ikigirwamana kinini gistatue.
How he saw the statutes.
Buri gice cy'iyo statue cyavugaga ubwami buzaza.
And every part of it will symbolize the kingdom that will come.
Cyangwa se inyamaswa zitandukanye.
Or different beasts.
Buri nyamaswa yari ifite ubwami ivuga.
Every beast represented a kingdom.
Icyo gihe havugaga ubwami bw'Babiloni.
At that time, the Babylonian kingdom were mentioned.
Ubw'Abaperesi baje kuza.
Persians.
Ubw'Abagiriki.
The Greeks.
Ubw'Abaottomani.
The Ottomans.
Ubw'Abaroma.
The Romans kingdom.
Ayo mami yagiye avugwa.
So all these kingdoms were mentioned.
Uyu munsi rero ho.
And today,
ntidufite amami.
we don't have those kingdoms.
Ariko dufite ibice by'ibihugu.
But we have nations or part of.
Dufite iburengerazuba n'iburasirazuba.
We have west and east.
Dufite iburengerazuba ibihugu bihuriye mu
Or
burengerazuba.
we have the western nations or countries.
Aribyo binyaburaya, ibihugu by'Iburaya na Amerika.
The European countries and American.
Dufite n'ibihugu by'iburasirazuba.
We also have the eastern countries.
Haribyo bigize Ubushinwa, Ubuhinde, Uburusiya mu majyaruguru.
The China, India, Russia, those areas.
Donc ubu ngubu ibihugu bihari bikomeye.
And today the powerful nations
ni Amerika.
Is the America, the Europe,
n'Uburusiya,
the Russia,
n'Ubushinwa,
and China,
ndetse twavugana Iran,
and Iran,
ndetse n'ibindi bihugu bito bito nka za Korea y'Amajyaruguru,
and some of the small countries like North Korea.
Uyu munsi rero twebwe twerekwa nditwereka ubwami bw'Babiloni, nditwerekwa ubwami bw'Iperse, nditwerekwa ubwami bw'Abagiriki, ahubwo Imana iravuga kuri izi ngoma ziriho ubu ngubu. No kuvuga ngo Abarusiya, ibihugu by'Abanyamerika, Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika, Canada, ibyo ngibyo nibyo Imana ivuga muri bibi.
And when God reveals to us or gives us a vision, He doesn't show to us the kingdom of Russia, the Persians, the Babylon. No, He's showing to us these great and powerful countries like China, Russia, United States, or the America, North America.
Ese ikibazo twakwibaza, hari intambara igiye kuba hagati y'Ubushinwa na Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika?
And now this leads us to us, is there a war about to happen between the US and the China?
Rero ndakora ku ngingo ikibazo kibaza ngo impamvu y'intambara n'impuwa z'intambara ni iyihe? Kuki hari intambara? Kuki hari impuwa z'intambara?
And now we need to ask this question. What is the cause of the war, the cause of the rumors of the war?
Kuko Yesu yavuze muri Matayo 24:6-8.
As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 6 to 8.
Ariho ngira ngo dusome.
And that's why we'll read.
Kandi twarahasomye.
And we have read this already.
Bibiliya iravuga ngo muzumva iby'intambara n'impuwa z'intambara. Mwirinde mudahagarika imitima kuko bitazabura kubaho. Ngo ariko imperuka izaba itaraza. Ishyanga rizatera irindi shyanga. Ubwami buzatera ubundi bwami. Hazabaho inzara, hazabaho ibyorezo arizo mugiga, hazabaho ibishyitsi hamwe na hamwe. Ngo ariko ibyo byose bizaba ari itangiro ryo kuramukwa. Bibiliya yanjye ntiharimo ibyorezo cyangwa mugiga, ahubwo n'izindi za Bibiliya zishira mu iri jambo ibyorezo na mugiga.
Let's read 6 and 8. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow.
niki gituma intambara ndibanda cyane ku ntambara kuko mugiga n'ibyorezo byo mwarabibonye muri za covid zabaye, haracyaza n'ibindi bitari covid bifite n'imazina tutazi nabyo bizaza kuko niko bimeze, turi mu bihe bya nyuma cyangwa se turi mu itangiriro ryo kuramukwa.
Among the signs, I will only focus on the war because you have witnessed the earthquake, the pestilences, and the COVID and other things. And this is just the beginning of sorrow, so I will just focus on the war.
Ndavuga ku bijyanye n'ibyorezo.
And I will talk about
n'intambara.
About the war.
Imana nidufasha nzavuga no ku byorezo.
And if God wills, we will talk about the pestilences.
Gusa n'imishyitsi irimo iba hirya no hino.
And some places where we are seeing earthquakes.
Reka mvuge ku bijyanye n'intambara cyangwa se n'impuha z'intambara.
So I will talk about the wars and also rumors of wars.
Intambara n'impuha z'intambara.
War and rumors of war.
Ibyo turi buganireho uyu munsi ni intambara, ni impuha z'intambara hagati ya Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika n'Ubushinwa.
And today we will talk about the rumors that we are hearing that is between the United States of America and China.
Reka tugaruke rero kuri iri jambo rivuga ngo niki gitera intambara.
And we will focus on the cause of war.
Hari impamvu nyinshi.
There are causes.
Ariko ndavuga imwe ikomeye iri biblique.
But I will touch base on the biblical cause or biblical reason.
Impamvu intambara ibaho.
The reason why we have war.
Iri biblique.
And biblical based or spiritual speaking.
Impamvu yo mu mwuka.
The reason why there's a war, spiritual speaking.
Nziko wambwira byinshi.
You can come up with many sayings or many causes.
Kandi ufite rezo.
And you have right, you have reason to say
that.
Ariko
mfite imwe nge mvugaho.
But I have one specific that I will touch on.
Nizere ko turi kumwe abari mu bankurikira mu isaha y'agaciro.
I believe those who are following me now and during this hour value, you are following well.
Intambara nk'ikimenyetso cy'iherezo ry'iyi si. Kabimwe mu bimenyetso bigize iherezo ry'isi.
War being one of the signs of the end of the age.
Reka dusome muri Daniel 9:27 turebe ko twasubiza neza impamvu y'intambara.
When we read Daniel chapter 9 verse 27, we will be able to answer the reason why or the cause of war.
Ngo mutwara azasezerana na benshi isezerano rikomeye rimare icyumweru kimwe nikigera hagati azabuzanya ibitambo n'amaturo, umurimbuzi azaza kwibaba ry'ibizira maze kugeza ku mperuka yategetswe uburakari buzasandazwa kuri uwo murimbuzi.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of the abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Sindi bwinjire mu buryo literale cyangwa se mu buryo busobanutse muri Daniel 9, ariko hari ijambo nshaka gukuramo.
I won't define or explain it literally in this chapter verse 27, but there's a specific word that I want to touch base on.
nshaka gukuramo.
The word that I'm bringing out.
Ni isezerano rizamara icyumweru.
It is the covenant that will last for 1 week.
Ta sezerano ry'icyumweru riri.
There's no a 1 week covenant.
Ryari isezerano ry'igihe kirekire.
This was a long period covenant.
Abantu basezeranye n'uyu muntu.
And people made a covenant with this person.
Ariko
but
habaho kwica isezerano.
There were a breach of this covenant.
Kwica isezerano rero.
When you breach the covenant,
niyo source y'intambara.
That is the cause of the war.
Ndibuze kuganira namwe rero kwica isezerano nka kimwe kizatera intambara zo mu bihe bya nyuma.
And now my focus will be the cause of war being the breach of the covenant.
Iyo urebye,
when you observe
umugore n'umugabo
between a husband and a wife,
bagirana isezerano.
There's a covenant there.
Ni ryari abantu batangira gushwana?
When do the strife start?
Haba harimwo kimwe kiba kirimo hari ukwika isezerano.
One of the other causes, there is a breach of their covenant.
Abantu babiri
Two people,
iyo bumvikanye
when they have agreed,
bashwana ryari?
when do they fight?
Iyo umwe muri bo yishe isezerano.
When one has breached the covenant.
N'ibihugu nabyo bishwanira iki?
So what is the cause of the countries to fight?
Kuki igihugu kimwe gishobora gutera ikindi?
Why would one nation rise against another nation?
Niki cyatumye igihugu kirwana n'ikindi?
What would cause the nation to fight or attack another
Impamvu
nation?
ni nyinshi.
There are many reasons,
Ariko impamvu imwe ikomeye.
but one particular and important
Hari
reason,
amasezerano yishwe.
there are covenants that have been breached.
Turi mu isi y'amasezerano.
We are in the world made up by covenants,
Nta kibaho ku isi kitari mu isezerano.
and nothing takes place in the world without covenants.
Sinyatire yawe
Your signature
ni isezerano.
is a covenant.
Impeta wambaye
The ring that you're wearing
ni isezerano.
is a covenant.
Kwemera kwawe
The agreement
ni isezerano.
is a covenant.
Abantu rero bahora mu ntambara za buri munsi kuko barimo bica utwo tuntu ngo nivugiraga.
So you find people in daily fights or conflicts because I was just talking, I was just making a joke. No,
Nivugiraga.
I just say it simply,
None birabaye.
and now it comes to
Erega
reality.
nemeye ntemeye.
When I say yes, I didn't mean it,
Ariko warasinye.
but you signed.
Sinari nzi ko ari ukubizame.
Oh, I didn't know this was the outcome.
Kugira ngo uje mu nzu y'umuntu urasinye.
In order to rent a house, you sign.
Kugira ngo umuntu aguhe amafaranga ye murasinyana.
In order to borrow the money, you sign.
Ubuzima bw'abantu burimwo amasezerano.
So the lifestyle is made up by covenants you make.
Kwica ayo masezerano.
So when you breach
Nicyo
those
kibazo.
covenants, that is the problem.
Imana ni Imana y'amasezerano.
And our God is God of
Igihe
covenants.
cy'Abrahamu
The time of Abraham,
yongeye kandi gusezerana n'umuntu.
he renewed the covenant with man.
Ngiye gusezerana.
He said, I'm going to make a covenant with you.
Ni ukuvuga ngo umuntu
So a
n'Imana
mankind
babana mu
with God,
masezerano.
they dwelt in a
No
covenant.
kwa Satani n'umuntu ni mu masezerano.
Even Satan working with a man, there is covenant.
Abasataniste
The Satanists,
bagendera mu masezerano.
they walk according to their
Ikintu
covenants.
cyose uremera
Everything you have to agree
ukagisinyira
and you sign for it.
ukava mu rwego ukajya mu rundi.
And that's how you live one level to another.
No mu Mana turasezerana.
Even in God's way, we have to
Iyo
make
uvuga ngo
covenants.
nakiriye Yesu
When you confess that I received
nk'umwami
Jesus
n'umukiza wanjye
as the Lord and my Savior,
uba urimo ukora isezerano.
you are making a covenant.
Iyo ugiye kubatizwa
When you are being baptized
ukuze
and you are
uba urimo ukora
mature,
isezerano.
you are making a covenant.
Iyo ugiye kuba umushumba
When you are going to be ordained,
hari amasezerano usoma
there are covenants you read.
we kuyica
So when you breach
ugira
them,
ngo ni ibintu byoroshye
you think it's simple,
ariko haba hari ikurikizi.
but there is a risk or consequences.
Iyo uvuze ngo nzakorera iri torero iki
When you say, I will do this for this church,
bwaca mu gitondo ngo Imana irambwiye ngo nje mu bindi
and then one morning you say, God has led me to something else.
biteye ubwoba.
That's very
Ayo
dangerous.
masezerano
The covenant,
aragukurikirana
they follow you.
gukorana n'umuntu
So when you're working
mu
with a
gitondo
person,
kimukagenda
and one morning you just get
ngo
up and
mbonye indi
leave
soko
because I found another
abandi
market.
barankeneye
Everybody else needs
utarangiye
me.
isezerano
Without finishing the
cyangwa mutumvikanye
covenant,
uko rirangira
or you're not in agreement of how you are going to end,
biragoye gutera imbere.
it is very hard for you to prosper.
Abantu benshi bari limite bahagaritswe n'amasezerano bakoze ntibabizi birirwa biruka mu byumba by'amasengesho bajya mu bapfumu ngo mundebera bandoze. No, ni wowe n'amasezerano wica.
Many people are unaware of why they are limited in life, not knowing that the covenant they made and they breached have put a limitation on how far they could go.
Antikristo nango azakorera amasezerano n'abantu
Antichrist will make covenant with people,
ngo ariko mu minsi 7
but in 7 days, in
Mu
1
cyumweru
week,
kimwe.
in 1 week,
azica iryo sezerano.
he's going to breach the covenant.
Uzi icyo bivuze?
You know what the meaning of this?
Bisabe niwe wabikoze.
He did it.
Havuze ngo
The Bible says,
ngo hazaza ngo umurimbuzi azaza ku ibaba ry'ibizira ngo maze kugeza ku mperuka yategetswe uburakari buzasandazwa kuri uwo murimbuzi.
27.
Yeah.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of he shall cause the sacrifice and for the overspreading, yes, for the overspreading of the abomination, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
ibyavuzweho byose bizamusandaraho.
Everything that was spoken to him will be spread.
Kw'iki isezerano rero
The breach of the covenant.
ni ikibazo ki uyu munsi Amerika ifitanye n'Ubushinwa.
What is the problem between the US and
Ubu hari
China?
intambara zitandukanye.
There is so many wars.
Sindi buvuge intambara y'ubukungu iri hagati y'Ubushinwa n'Amerika. Irakomeye.
I'm not talking about the economic war that is between the US and
Hari
China.
intambara y'ubutiti.
There is a Cold War.
Donc ubu birakomeye abanyamerika kugura ibintu muri Chine byagoranye ntibabigura. Ubushine ko baramanuka uko abanyamerika batakirimo bashaka kugura ibintu bya Chine.
As there is a Cold War that is going on between the China and America. America has stopped, had put in sanction from trading with China, and things are over China. They are not well.
Abapolitisi bakuru ba leta zunze ubumwe za Amerika ko bashaka kubonana abashino ko barasaba ngo babonane barebe ko barangiza icyo kibazo, ariko ni ikibazo kitoroshe.
Chinese government is requesting the US politician to meet and solve this problem, but it's not going well. It's not easy.
Hari akarwa gatoya bita Taiwan.
And there is a small island called Taiwan.
Taiwan murayireba hamwe n'Ubushinwa kuri carte.
You can see there on the map with the China.
Urareba Taiwan n'Ubushinwa.
See Taiwan and China.
Taiwan iri hirya mu mazi.
Taiwan is on the sea coast, by the sea.
Inyanja.
By the ocean.
Bayita ngo ni inyanja y'amajyaruguru y'Ubushinwa cyangwa se inyanja y'Ubushinwa.
It is it's an ocean by the China.
Ariko mu by'ukuri ni sea, China Sea.
But it's a China Sea.
Ariko mu by'ukuri ni muri Pacifique. Ocean Pacific.
Yes. But it is in Pacific Ocean.
Dero iyo urebye carte y'Ubushinwa.
If you are looking on the map of China,
urabona Taiwan ni umutuku kuko Ubushinwa ari umutuku, ariko hari ibendera ryayo ahitwa Taipei niyo kapitale yayo.
If you see on the map, China is red, so is Taiwan, but the flag is blue in a place called Taipei.
Intambara ishobora kuvuka cyangwa ishobora kuba hagati ya Amerika n'Ubushinwa irava kuri iki kirwa bita Taiwan.
And a war to start between China and America, the cause will be this island Taiwan.
Taiwan ubundi izwi kera cyangwa officiellement izwi yitwa Repubulika y'Ubushinwa.
Taiwan officially is known as the Republic of China.
Wakwibaza bati se n'Ubushinwa?
Now you may wonder, does it belong to China or is it China? What is
Ubushinwa bwo?
And China
bwitwa Repubulika y'abaturage b'Abashinwa.
It is called People's Republic of China.
Wumve Ubushinwa niko bwitwa ubundi.
That's the name of China.
Ariko Repubulika y'Ubushinwa,
but the Republic of China
ni Taiwan.
Is Taiwan.
Taiwan ni igihugu ni ikirwa cyitwa Repubulika y'Ubushinwa.
It is an island known as the Republic of China.
Hanyuma Ubushinwa tuzi ko ari Ubushinwa bwitwa Repubulika y'abaturage b'Abashinwa.
And the China that we know, it is the People's Republic of China.
Uhereye muri 1949.
And since 1949.
Mbere nagiye mbabwira uko yitwa yari amadynasty cyangwa samami nabivuzeho.
Well, previous our value I shared with you their dynasty before it becomes a republic.
Ubundi Ubushinwa butandukanye na Taiwan kumuyobora bita Strait ya Taiwan nuko ni ku nkengero z'amazi.
And the separation between China and Taiwan, it is a strait.
Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan Strait. That's what it's called.
Nukuva ku nkengero z'amazi Pacific ukazamuka ako gace niko bita ngo ni Taiwan Strait.
So that means you leave the shore side of Oceania of Pacific and there is a strait there, and that's a division.
Repubulika y'abaturage b'Abashinwa.
And the People's Republic of China.
Iyo ivuga ko Taiwan ari Ubushinwa.
It sees Taiwan as the China part.
Kandi yararahiye kwigomba kubuhuza bukaba bumwe.
And they have sought to reconcile or to bring back China.
Ariko Taiwan nayo ariyo Repubulika y'Abashinwa.
And Taiwan being the Republic of China.
Iyo nayo ikavuga ati turigenga tugomba kugira election yacu democratiquement tukagira abapresident bacu donc ntaho duhuriye n'Ubushinwa.
Taiwan has its own democratic elected government, and it has nowhere to be connected to the mainland,
iki
which is
kirwa
China.
gifite miliyoni 23 z'abantu.
And Taiwan has 23 million of people.
Abategetsi bagiye basimburanwa, bamwe baza bafite ibitekerezo bitandukanye, bamwe bakavuga to reka tubu Bushinwa tuje muri Republika y'abaturage y'Abashinwa cyangwa se twikukire. Donc nuko niko bimeze.
And their political leaders have different views regarding them. Some of them want to be a People's Republic of China or back to the mainland, or the other want to be Republic of China.
Reka nje mu mateka gatoya ya Taiwan.
So to the background history of Taiwan.
Imyaka magana ishize, Taiwan yagiye yigenga ubwayo, ibayeho mu buryo busanzwe.
For many centuries, Taiwan enjoyed a degree of autonomy.
Nubwo abantu batari bazi uko yari ibayeho, niba ari amami, niba ari ikindi, biragoye kubimenya.
Although its exact status was often uncertain, whether it was a dynasty or a nation.
Ibi byarakomeje kuzagera mu mwaka w'1895.
And this carried on until 1895.
Igihe Ubuyapani bwafashe kontrole ya Taiwan, Japan irayikoloniza. En fait, Taiwan iki kirwa cyakolonijwe n'Abayapani.
And this lasted when Japan took control of Taiwan after defeating China.
Icyo gihe habaye intambara hagati y'Ubuyapani na Chine. Ubushinwa butsinda Ubuyapani butsinda Chine. Hanyuma bahita bafata igice cya Taiwan nka koloni yabo. Iyo ntambara bayita ngo ni intambara yabaye y'Ubushinwa n'Ubuyapani.
And at that time, after the Japan started controlling Taiwan, that was after the defeat of China, and that's when they turned Taiwan their colony and they named it Sino-Japanese War.
Iyo ntambara yabaye hagati y'Ubushinwa n'Ubuyapani byatumye igihe Ubushinwa bwatsinzwe bukolonizwa n'Ubuyapani, Ubuyapani nabwo bukoloniza rero Taiwan.
And that led China to be colonized by Japan, and Japan colonized also Taiwan.
Ubuyapani mwibuke ko nabwo bwakolonije za Korea yombi, y'amajyaruguru n'amajyepfo.
And Japan also colonized the North and South Korea.
Bukoloniza n'Ubushinwa.
Even China.
Donc Ubuyapani bwari bukomeye cyo.
So Japan was very powerful at that time.
Nuko iyi ntambara rero yo mu 1895.
So the war of 1895.
Byatewe n'iki ntambara?
So what was the cause of this war?
Yatewe nuko Ubuyapani n'Ubushinwa byashatse gukontrola Korea. Muri iyo ntambara rero Ubuyapani buratsinda.
Prior Japan and China, they want to control Korea, and that's when the fight started and Japanese defeated.
Nyuma haje kuba amasezerano icyo bita Treaty of Shimonoseki, cyangwa se amasezerano y'Shimonoseki mu 1895. Niyo yatumye intambara hagati y'Ubushinwa n'Ubuyapani ihagarara.
And the war ended when they signed a treaty called the Treaty of Shimonoseki in 1895.
Icyo cyatumye Ubushinwa ivuga ngo ikirwa cya Taiwan turagitanze turakirekuye.
And that's what led China to surrender Taiwan, or to cede Taiwan.
Tubahaye Taiwan burundu.
We give Taiwan to you forever.
Umva ayo masezerano.
Now this is their treaty they made.
Amasezerano yabaye.
The treaty they made.
Yabaye ari uko tureke kurwanira muri Korea. Nitwicane. None mwebwe turabareka, turemeye ko dutsinzwe, tubahaye ikirwa cya Taiwan, ariko turangiza intambara. Ayo na amasezerano ugomba kumva. Mujye mwumva amasezerano, imbaraga z'amasezerano.
So the treaty that was made was to say, let us not fight anymore in Korea, but we are surrendering Taiwan permanently to you. So this was a covenant they were making, and you need to understand the power of a covenant.
Ibihugu by'Uburengerazuba bikomeye bibonye ayo masezerano, biravuga ngo Ubushinwa buriboshye. Ariko Ubushinwa bwose ko bwabibonye kubera iki? Kuko babonye ko ayo masezerano babaha ayo masezerano abaruhuye, bari bananiwe cyane.
The Western powers regarded the treaty as legally binding, But China did not see the same way because they saw this as a relief, or they see the agreement imposed to its under duress.
noneho aba muri Taiwan kuko urumva ko byasinywe n'Ubushinwa n'Ubuyapani. Aba muri Taiwan mukirwa bavyumvishe baravuga ati bitse birashoboka ni gute badutanze. Uwo mwanya bahitabo abategetsi baho bato abashefu bavuga ngo twebwe turikukiye tuba Republique ya Taiwan icyo gihe.
And now Taiwan not being involved between the treaty that was made between Japan and China, when they got the news of the treaty reaching them, the local leaders there proclaimed the Republic of Taiwan.
Cyari igihugu cya mbere cyo muri Aziya kibaye Republika.
And this was Asia's first republic.
Ariko byagenze gute?
But what happened?
Iyo Republika cyangwa se icyo kintu nticyatinze, byagize gusa iminsi 10. Yarasana ya masezerano babwiye y'icyumweru kimwe.
But the Republic of Taiwan did not last. It only lasted for only 10 days. And the 10 days is similar to the covenant that was made.
Icyabaye rero Taiwan itangira gusubiranamo habamwe abo bita ngo naba warlord. Donc abafite imitwe bakomeye umushefu hari undi hari undi hari buri muntu atangira kuba shefu habamwe imijyane ikomeye cyane aho ngaho.
And this led to Taiwan having no central government, and they start having warlordism.
Icyo gihe rero Ubuyapani wibonye baravuga toke turamanutse muri Taiwan tuyigire koloni yacu tuyikolonize. Nuko bamanutse barazana ingufu nyinshi nubwo barwanye n'abaturabutaka baho, ariko abayapani baraza barahafata.
So and that led Japanese to be determined to make Taiwan their colony. So he dealt firmly with the opposing government on the island.
Abasirikare b'Ubuyapani baraza.
Now Japanese military came.
Bafatikirwa hafi imyaka 3.
And they governed the island within 3 years, about 3 years.
Donc bategeka babashefu bose bari b'imitwe yari hagurutse.
And they start ruling over those warlords that were arising.
Noneho bwari ubwa mbere Ubuyapani bugiye gukoloniza.
And this was the first time Japanese were going to
niho bagombaga gukorera imyitozo yabo barebe.
Oh, this was the first colonialism.
Ikintu cya mbere bakoze Abayapani bakuramwo barwanya indwara bazikuramwo, no kuvuga ngo ibirwara barubaka imihanda, yewe bazamura ubukungu bwa Taiwan. Aba n'Abayapani.
What they did was they eradicating disease, building the infrastructures, and creating modern economy. And these were the people who were taking over Taiwan.
Taiwan irakura cyane irazamuka mu bihugu byose byo muri Aziya y'Iburasirazuba, nibwo bwari bukomeye mu bukungu, bwari bumeze uretse Ubuyapani. Taiwan yari ya kabiri.
And Taiwan soon became the most advanced place in East Asia besides Japan.
Bashize abantu mu by'ubuhinzi, barahinga imiceri bareza, imbuto babigisha uko bahunika, donc technique zo guhunika zo guhinga, isukari, imiceri, uko bayohereza hanze. Rwose Taiwan irakira.
And Japanese policymakers at that time, they focused on agriculture first, and then they improved rice production, new seeds, the farming techniques, rice and sugars were being exported, and Taiwan prospered at the time.
Babashiraho imihanda.
They build the infrastructures, so railroads. They put in place the railroads.
Barakora cyane.
And they were working hard, but they were using them forcefully. They started the electricity, and they started to grow the growth of the industries.
Inganda zo kudoda zo, donc textile n'izindi za chimie.
And the industries such as textiles and the chemical industries.
Intambara ya mbere y'isi rero yatumye noneho economy ya Taiwan izamuka cyane.
And the World War I was a boom for Taiwan's economy.
Batangira kohereza ibicuruzwa byabo ku isi.
And this is when they start to expand their trade in the
world.
No
mu ntambara ya kabiri y'isi nanone Taiwan yo yakomeje izamuka cyane abantu bakenya ibintu akaba ari Taiwan yohereza.
Even during the World War II, Taiwan continued to expand during the war.
Kuko nari mbivuze Ubuyapani nubwo bazamuka gutyo, Ubuyapani bwabayoboje igitugu n'igitsure ndetse n'agahato kenshi cyane, amategeko akomeye.
although Taiwan was being developed, on the other hand, Japan ruled Taiwan strictly, using harsh punishment to enforce the law.
ntabwo ubuyapani bwifuzaga ko cyangwa se intego yabo ndi kwakuru kugira ngo Taiwan ibe igihugu demokratike cigirira abatware babo bumvishe kazaba nk'agace kabo nyine ku Buyapani.
So they did not do this intentionally to have Taiwan eventually to be its own republic. No, they wanted to advance their economy but still own them, be its colony.
Ikindi babashe gukora rero,
and what they did,
nuko abayapani bashatse kubigisha Ikiyapani.
They want to train them to speak Japanese,
ndetse no kugira imico y'abayapani,
and they also have the culture of Japan.
Rero bamwe barabirwanyije ariko babishyiraho.
Some fought it, but it was implemented.
cyane amahirwe yari y'Abataiwan kugira ngo bige imico y'Ikiyapani babashe kwiga science.
But the gain was to Taiwan's, so the more they learn their culture, so they also have a knowledge on the science
na technology.
And science and technology.
Ibi nibyo murimo mubona, donc uyu munsi irazamutse cyane ariko bifite aho byahereye.
So that's what you're seeing today, but there is a foundation that was laid down this time.
Mu mwaka w'igihumbi kimwe rero 1935 urumva ko icyo gihe intambara y'isi ya kabiri yari taraba ariko yari donc hari umwuka utari mwiza.
And now in the year 1935, this was yet the World War II had yet to start.
Japan iravuga toke tugiye kubareka noneho mwigenge namwe mugire ubwigenge bwanyu butoya.
And Japan announced to have them, to give them their autonomy for the local government.
Bonyine babahitije mu gutora.
So they did an election.
Gusa nyine abayapani abasirikare babo bari bakomeye baraho.
But the Japanese military was around.
Muri 1937 Ubuyapani burongera butera Ubushinwa.
1937 Japan invaded China again.
Noneho babasaba kongera kuva mu Bushinwa.
And they wanted to leave China.
Ntibyari byoroshe.
And this time it wasn't easy.
Icyo gihe hari intambara muri Pacific.
And there was a war in Pacific areas.
Kandi icyo gihe na Amerika yari ifite ibibazo kuko twari tugiye kwinjira mu ntambara ya kabiri y'isi.
And America also was facing problems because this was right prior to the World War II.
Icyo gihe Amerika yari ifatikanyije n'ibihugu by'Uburaya.
And America was was with allies of Europeans. Hitler was being more powerful.
Icyo gihe Ubuyapani noneho bubona Taiwan kuko harimo igisirikare cyabo gikomeye nka hantu bazakorera bazacisha indege zabo z'intambara, donc nka lieu stratégique igomba kubafasha kurwana. Mwibuke ko Ubuyapani bwari bufatanyije na Hitler.
And Japan came to regard Taiwan as an unsinkable aircraft carriers and important stepping stone for the military expansion.
Ariko noneho bavizaga iki cyo gihe Philippines.
But there was invasion for Philippines as well.
Ngo bazayifate ndetse n'ibindi bice byo mu majyepfo.
And also to take part of the south.
Ariko bo bikoze bari muri Taiwan.
But this was supposed to take place while they were still in Taiwan.
Aha niho rero abanyamerika basariye.
And this is where America got worse.
Abantu bo muri Taiwan bakorana n'abasirikare na defense ya Japan y'Ubuyapani kugira ngo bakomere nyine babashe kwinjira muri intambara ya kabiri y'isi yarigiye ko.
And Taiwanese work with the Japanese military in order to take over the fight that was in China.
Ndetse yewe abantu muri Taiwan benshi bagirira ibintu bibi cyane abasivile bo mu Bushinwa. Ndavuga kiriya gihugu kinini cyari mu dynasty.
And Taiwanese troops even participated in atrocities against the Chinese civilians.
Mu gace bita Nanking.
And in the area called Nanking.
Abantu ba Taiwan bakoranye n'abasirikare b'Abayapani bari benshi cyane hafi ibihumbi bigera kuri 30 by'abakombata babafasha muri iyo ntambara ya kabiri y'isi.
And the Taiwanese who served in Japanese military were more than 30,000.
Nuko icyo gihe bareba nyine ukuntu bazarwana bazafatanya.
And they study how they will be allies.
Abanyamerika nabo.
Now the US
n'abandi ba alliés babo.
And their allies.
Baribaza tese tuzarwana gute.
They wanted to know how we'll fight this war.
Barimo badiskita kubijyanye no gutera Taiwan.
how they will attack and fight along of Taiwan.
baravuga ati nidutera Taiwan izadutsinda kuko abayapani bayirimo kandi abantu bariteguye kurwana.
If we attack Taiwan, they will defeat us because they are with Japanese and Japanese are ready.
Gusa icyo gihe baza gusanga abanyamerika bo icyo gihe abasirikare b'abanyamerika bari bafite carte map yose donc bari bafite amakuru ahagije kuri Taiwan.
But they realized in the end the US or America had a map of enough information to attack.
Kandi bamenya neza ko Taiwan izakorana na Japan kugira ngo itere.
And they knew that Taiwan will work alongside with the Japanese to attack.
Icyo gusa abanyamerika bakoze icyo gihe kuko Ubushinwa bwari bwagize ibibazo bikomeye cyane batangiye gukubitwa. Abanyamerika boherezayo bombe bakubita ikigega cy'amavuta.
So what US did, they sent the warplane bombed into an oil storage depot.
Ndetse n'ibindi bice by'ingenzi byo muri Taiwan barabikubita ambo. Ntibayikubise cyane kugira ngo igire ariko kwari nko kubaha gasopo ati mwitonde turahara. Bari abanyamerika icyo gihe kera cyane muri za 30 na karindwi gutyo.
And this was back in 1937 when some other strategy was made by the US targeting in Taiwan, but only little damage was done on the island.
Icyabaye niki cyo gihe rero abashinwa ndavuga ubu Bushinwa bwa none.
Now to the current China,
nibo bashatse gutera Taiwan.
They wanted to attack Taiwan.
Ariko Amerika iyo plan barayireka, Amerika ibereka ko yo ifite carte yabo niko gukubita Taiwan.
When the US proved that they are ready to attack Taiwan, that's when they stopped their plan.
Hari icyo bise rero ngo ni conference yabereye i Cairo. Habaye conference i Cairo mu 1943. Ubwo urumva kuri cyagiye cya Hitler yarakomeye.
And then earlier decades issued after the first Cairo conference in 1943.
Mwibuke ko China yari ubwami.
Now China was still a dynasty.
Murabyumva neza.
We together.
Abanyamerika n'Abongereza.
The United States and the Britain
bahamagara bakorana n'abantu bamwe bo mu gihugu baba nationaliste.
They conquered with a Chinese nationalist
witwa ngo Chiang Kai-shek.
Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah. Aramuhamagara.
They called him.
Aravuga toke. Twebwe turashaka kugusubiza igice abayapani batwaye. Iyo ni Taiwan. Turimo turavuga amasezerano kwica amasezerano mujye mubyo.
We are talking about breaching a covenant. Now US speaks to US speaks to China. It says we want to return back your territory which was taken by Japan. This
bari baratanze Taiwan.
They had given Taiwan to Japan.
Ariko muri yo bumwe bw'intambara abanyamerika kurwana baravuga toke twebwe bahurira i Cairo muri Egypte. Donc Abongereza n'Abanyamerika bahamagara abo muri Chine bati mwe ntimugire ikibazo turaza kurwana twebwe turabasubiza Taiwan isubiriye ibigihugu donc Ubushinwa.
Now this was one of the strategy to fight. Remember initially they had given Taiwan to Japan, but now they want to convince China that they are bringing back Taiwan because it belongs to them, to the China.
Bagombaga kwiha uyu muntu barimo bakorana nawe witwa Chiang.
They were supposed to give it to the
Chiang Kai-shek.
To the Chinese nationalist leader called Chiang Kai-shek.
We turagusubiza Taiwan.
We will return back Taiwan to you.
Nuko. Ingabo z'Abanyamerika rero.
Now the
muri 45 zari muri Taiwan.
In 1945, the US Army was in Taiwan.
Bumvisha Abayapani.
Convincing to Japanese
kurekura Taiwan bakayiha Chiang. Uriya Jiang.
To surrender and turn over the control of island to Chiang, the nationalist.
Gusa byasabaga ko amasezerano bagomba kongera gusezerana amasezerano y'amahoro.
But they needed to renew the peace treaty.
Nuko Abayapani baragenda.
So Japanese goes.
Muzi ko kw'Abanyamerika muri icyo gihe bahise babombarda mu Buyapani, Ubuyapani burasarendinga burarekura burahunga. nuko abo muri Taiwan turanezerewe ko abayapani bagiye kuko bahise bahunga bagenda.
At that time, the US bombed in Japan and Japanese fled, and that's how the relief was given to Taiwan.
Nuko muri icyo gihe nanone
And that time,
haza kuvuka izindi mbaraga mu Bushinwa z'abakomuniste zari zibowe n'uwitwa Mao Zedong.
and the communist forces arise, being led by a person called Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong yazanye ibitekerezo by'abakomuniste.
Mao Zedong brought the mindset or the ideology of the communists.
Noneho arwana na Jiang uryo ufatanyije n'abanyamerika n'abongereza.
And
Mwumve rero munyumve neza.
and fought against Chiang, the nationalist who's working with the US and the Britain.
Aha. Icyo gihe kandi muri Amerika nabo.
At that time, the US or America,
icyo gihe Jiang
at that time, Chiang
nta contact nimwe yari afite na Taiwan.
had no contact with Taiwan.
Ariko yari umunationaliste yifuza ko Chine imera nko muri Amerika, imera nko mu Bwongereza.
By him being a nationalist, he desired China to be like US or the Britain.
Ariko Mao Zedong
But Mao Zedong,
washigikiye imitekerereze y'abakomuniste.
who supported the ideology of the communists,
Rero haba intambara hagati y'ayo mami yo.
so there was a war between the two dynasties.
Bararwana pe.
They fought.
Icyo gihe intambara yari hagati ya Mao Zedong na Jiang wifuza ko Ubushinwa bumera nk'Uburaya, ariko Mao Zedong bagashaka ngo baje muri systeme y'abakomuniste.
Now, the war that was between Mao Zedong, who wanted the ideology of the communist, and Chiang, who wanted to be just like America or the Britain.
Muri icyo gihe abanyamerika
At that time, the
ingabo
Americans,
zabo ziri Taiwan,
their troops are in
izindi
Taiwan,
zakubise Chine,
and other has attacked
zakubise Japan,
Japan,
Hiroshima na Nagasaki.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Intambara iri mu Burayi.
And the war is taking place in the Europe.
Noneho abanyamerika mu gihugu
And the US government,
urusaku barasara ngo nimugarure ingabo zacu ko zirakora ikihaza.
they wanted to retrieve their troops to come back home.
Nicyo bashakaga.
And that's what they wanted.
Aba ni abanyamerika, the public America.
These are
American
the
Republic.
American public.
Bifuza ko ingabo zigaruka.
They wanted troops to come back home.
Ikindi na leta y'Amerika nayo yo ntirimo ireba cyane ibibazo bya Aziya, ahubwo cyane kwirareba iby'i Burayi. Irafokasinga cyane ku Buraya kuruta Aziya.
And the US government was focused more on the problems that were taking place in the Europe more than those in Asia.
Icyaje kuba ni iki rero?
And what happened later?
Mao Zedong
Mao Zedong,
haje kuba intambara ikomeye.
a great war started
birukana Jiang
and defeated Chiang
n'ingabo ze nyinshi.
and his troops.
Muri make bahungira muri Taiwan.
So they fled to Taiwan.
Abanyamerika baramuta.
And the American forsook him.
Kuko ntibabasha kumufasha, bari bafokasinze mu Buraya, kandi abanyamerika baturage bavuga ngo ingabo zacu zitahe, bituma bamureka.
Because America was concerned more of the Europeans' problems, and the Americans' people or public, they wanted to retrieve their troops, so they now left Chiang.
Uyu rero Chiang Kai-shek arahungaja muri Taiwan.
He fled to Taiwan.
Ageze Taiwan,
When he reached Taiwan,
nuko donc arayitegeka, asangamo abataiwanese barimo, nawe n'umushinwa uhunze, arabategeka, ariko ashiraho wita Cheni ngo ariwe uba guverineri w'ikirwa.
So Taiwan's not made a standard province of China at the time. Most people on the island had expected more of a Chiang Kai-shek appointed another man called Tian One, the first. Cheni the first.
Bamwita Cheni
the first.
Uyu Cheni
This
yari
Cheni,
umutaiwan.
he was a Taiwanese.
We n'umushinwa yirukanwe n'abantu benshi.
And Chiang is a Chinese who fled with other people.
Abo nibo azakomeye, nono amushiraho kugira ngo abashe gukomeza imirimo abayapani bakoraga.
So he appointed him so he could carry on with the works Taiwanese had put in place, or Japanese had put in place,
abajapani babikoraga.
and put in place the administration just like Japanese will do.
barakora nk'uko bari babishoboye,
They worked,
ariko abantu bakumva ko arimo bahemukira kuko barimo bariga imico y'Ikiyapani.
but they felt that he is actually deorganizing them because he's teaching them the customs of Japanese.
Uyu Chen
This Chen,
yarazi igitaiwanese cyiza akavuga niki Japanese.
he spoke Taiwanese and Japanese.
Kuva icyo gihe rero
And from that
kugeza
time
n'uyu munsi mubona
to today,
hari intambara
there is a war
hagati y'Ubushinwa na Taiwan.
between China and Taiwan.
Mu 1948 Mao Zedong amaze gushiraho ingabo.
So, in 1949, after the Mao Zedong's
Amaze gufata Ubushinwa donc communism igiye.
defeated China and implanted the communism.
Kuko narimbabwiye
As
nico gihe abandi bahungiye muri Taiwan ari abantu bagera kuri miliyoni 1.5.
And that's when people start fleeing, and this was about 1.5 million,
Bayobowe na wa mugabo watsinze urugamba.
being led by the men who defeated Xiang.
Abanyamerika rero icyo gihe
Now the Americans,
icyo bakoze
what they did,
bahise barekura Xiang.
they abandoned Xiang
Icyo bakoze
What they
bahita baja muri Korea y'Amajyaruguru.
and they went to North.
Umuntu bari
North
baratangiranye nawe baramurekuye.
The person whom they have started, they now
Baragiye.
abandon him and they go.
Ariko basinyanye bari barasinyanye nawe ngo bazatanga Taiwan ibe iy'Abashinwa.
But they had made a treaty that they will return back to Taiwan to the China.
Urumva ko byabaye ndibyabaye bigishoboka.
But it didn't happen as they
Ahubwo
promised.
Abanyamerika bigendera muri Korea.
In fact, America joined Korea.
Icyo gihe perezida wari uhari yitwaga Harry Truman.
And
Muri
the
Amerika.
president there called Harry Truman,
yohereza intumwa ye
he sent the US 7th
aja
Fleet.
hahani muri Taiwan Strait
to Taiwan Strait
kugira ngo aje guhagarika intambara yari ihari y'abakomuniste bagiye kwinjira.
to prevent an invasion of the island by the communist army.
Icyo bashize rero bahise bavuga ati mwebwe abakomuniste ntimuzarenga ahangaha.
What they did, they prevented the communists from entering.
Kubera iki?
Why?
Icyo gihe rero leta zunze ubumwe za Amerika n'abasoviete, leta z'abasoviete hari hamaze kuba bloke batumvikana.
Because at that time, due to the divide between the United States and the Soviet Union,
Icyo gihe isi
that time
yahise icikamo ibice bibiri.
the world split it into two.
Igice cy'abakomuniste
One side of the communists
n'igice cy'abakapitaliste
and the other side belonged to the capitalists.
aribo bita ngo n'abademokrate.
And they called them democratic blocs.
Chiang abonye ko
And Chiang, seeing
abanyamerika
this,
bamutaye
that Americans forsook him,
ahita ajya ku basoviete.
he joined the Soviet Union.
Ntabwo byari byoroshye.
This wasn't easy.
Icyo gihe abanyamerika bakoze
What the American government did,
bagiye muri ONU
they joined the UN
basapotinga ko bagomba guhagararira nako ko leta y'Ubushinwa igomba kwemerwa muri Nations Unies.
and supported his government's bid to represent China diplomatically in the United Nations.
Donc icyo gihe isi yagize ibice bibiri nkuko nabivuga, igice cy'abakomuniste n'abakapitaliste.
As I say, there was two parts in the world, the communists and the capitalists.
Uyu mugabo rero Chiang
And this man Chiang,
aravuga atari kugira ngo nzashobora abanyamerika reka nshireho ibintu bya demokrasi.
in order to work with the Americans, he need to establish democracy.
Ibyo nibyo yagiye akora igihe kinini cyane yumva ibyo abanyamerika bavuga akabikurikiza kugira ngo arebe ko yakwemerwa.
And that's what he used most of the time in order to see if he'll be taken by the American government.
Muri make nuko Taiwan yubatswe kugeza uyu munsi.
Briefly, that's how Taiwan become strong and powerful.
Yagiye izamuka.
Start to
Abaperezida
develop.
b'abanyamerika bagiye bayishigikira rimwe ubundi bakajya mu Bushinwa bakanga kwitera n'Ubushinwa kugeza uyu munsi.
Of sometimes the American government will support them, another time they will join Taiwan Chinese. They will go on both sides.
Uyu munsi nimo mbabwira rero.
And today, as I speak with you,
Okay, abanyamerika bagiye bereka ubushinwa bakababwira ati twe ntidushigikiye Taiwan ntituzongera kwigurishiriza intwaro.
And America had worked with China, say we will not be supporting Taiwan and sell
Donc Beijing ariyo capital y'Ubushinwa bakumvikana n'abanyamerika ko batazabahemukira.
Beijing being the capital city of China, they said they will still not violate their treaty.
Ibintu byahindutse ryari rero.
So when did things happen or change?
President Donald Trump agiyeho.
When President Trump,
mu masezerano y'abanyamerika bari barasinyanye n'Abashinwa,
among the treaty that were made between the US and China,
bari baravuze ko batazongera kugurisha izi ntwaro Taiwan.
they have said that they will no longer
tibazongeza kugurishiriza Taiwan intwaro.
They will no longer sell or trade the weapon to Taiwan.
Ibyo rwose byarangiye kera.
But these were violated or were breached.
Bari barabirangije ko batazongera kuyibaga.
Oh, this had already were done.
Ariko ibintu byarahindutse.
But things changed.
Tuvuga ngo perezida wanyu muherutse kuvugana n'abantu muri Taiwan hari muri 79.
That means the last president to speak with Taiwan was back in 1979.
Kugeza uyu munsi ibihugu byinshi byemera Taiwan nk'igihugu.
Until today, many nations do not take Taiwan as a state or as a country.
Bayifata nka Chine.
They consider it being as a
Uretse
China.
ibihugu bikeya.
Besides few nations.
Igihe cha Trump rero.
So during the time of Trump,
We
President Trump,
ahageze.
when he got there,
Yatelefonye perezida wa Taiwan bita Tsai.
he contacted or he telephoned a president called Tsai.
Tsai aramuhamagara.
He called Tsai.
Baravugana.
They spoke.
Bavuganye.
When they spoke,
barasara I Beijing Ubushinwa.
in China went crazy.
Bati kuki uvuganye nawe kuri telefone?
How do you speak with them on the
Mwe dufite
telephone?
amasezerano ko mutazasubira muri Taiwan. None ni ibiki byo?
We had a treaty. They complained that they had a treaty that you would no longer be working with Taiwan.
Ministre w'ububanyi n'amahanga w'i Beijing.
The foreign minister of Beijing
Ararakara cyane, of course n'igihugu cyose ko babacinyuma.
with the entire nation, they complained because they have violated.
Trump aravuga ati njyewe nshigikiye Ubushinwa ariko na Taiwan.
But Trump said, I in my administration will support China and also Taiwan.
Yabikoze gute?
How did he do it?
Yagurishije intwaro z'intambara kuri Taiwan kandi byari bibujijwe amasezerano.
By selling the arms to Taiwan, and this was by violating the agreement they had.
Amatanke n'amamisire.
He sold missiles and tanks.
Byose zari muri hafi miliyari 2 na miliyoni 200.
And the tanks and missiles worth 2.2 billion US
Indege
dollars.
z'intambara.
Along with fight jets.
Byose byagwa nka biliyoni 8 miliyari 8.
So the total cost was about 8 billion.
Ariko Jinping akomeza avuga ati mwibuke amasezerano dufitanye namwe yo muri 92 twumvikanye.
Meanwhile, Jinping intensified his call for Tsai to embrace the treaty they had in 1992.
Sinabonye umwanya wo kubabwira uko Jimmy Carter yingiyemo akavuga ko badashigikiye Taiwan, sinababwira ibya Reagan, bya Nixon, ibyo ni ibintu birebire cyane kuko no kubatinza ndimo ndavuga ngiye intambara izanwa niki.
I won't go back in the history and talk about Jimmy Carter, Reagan, and Nixon. No, but I'm just focusing on the
Clinton.
Even Clinton, I'm just focusing on the cause of war.
Trump rero we ahageze.
And when Trump came, what he did,
he
sold the arms to
them.
He's a businessman. And this country needs finance or the economy to expand. And that's how he violated the agreement they had with China. However, America will support Taiwan to have its own democracy. But also, they support, on the other side, they are with China. And China will see them just as playing a game to them.
China yigeze gusaba gusaba Taiwan.
China had requested from Taiwan
kugira ngo bakore leta imwe irimo system ebyiri
to have
ibyo tuzavuga Hong Kong ejo bundi
to have a two systems.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it next time.
System ebyiri.
Two systems.
Mukomeze demokrasi ariko kandi mwemere natwe n'ibyacu by'abakomunist.
Maintain democracy, will maintain our communism, but but be together.
Taiwan barabyanga.
But Taiwanese refused their proposal.
Ubu rero
and now
intambara ihari ni
what is the world that we have?
Reka tuje kuri Biden.
If we go to the President Biden,
umunsi Biden yageze kuri yabaye president.
The day President Biden was elected
muri 2021
in 2021,
yahise avuga ko ashyigikiye Taiwan.
He declared that he support Taiwan.
Ahita baha miliyoni 750 z'amadolari ngo bagure intwaro.
And he gave them 750 million US dollars
bagure intwaro
to buy their weapons.
Arazibagurishiriza nako.
So he sold them to them.
N'amato y'intambara.
And also warships.
Kandi agomba guca kuri cha chambu nababwiye ka karongo ka Taiwan bita Taiwan Strait.
And the warships must go through the Taiwan Strait.
Babibonye abashino bati ibindi byoroshe.
And when Chinese saw this, they noticed it wasn't easy with the US.
Tahaba tension hagati ya Amerika na China.
And there was a tension rise between the US and China.
US kababwira ati twebwe turabashigikiye abanyashine nta kibazo dufitanye namwe.
But US will say we support you China, there's no problem with us.
Ubushinwa nabo buravuga ngo.
And China says
mureke kudukinisha.
Do not play with us.
Jinping president Jinping president w'Uburusiya.
And
Ubushinwa.
And the Chinese president Jinping
babwira Biden
spoke to Biden
ngo ntimukine n'umuriro.
Do not play with fire.
Ntimukine n'umuriro gushikira Taiwan.
Do not play with fire by supporting Taiwan.
Aha niho rero ibintu biri ubu.
And this is where things are currently.
Ejo bundi.
Recently,
abashinwa.
The Chinese
bacishije amabalone yawo mu kirere ibintu bimeze nk'amabalone kugira ngo bitange signe ya avertissement ku Bushinu kuri Taiwan. Taiwan ejo bundi yongeye gutora undi president wayo. Hari amabalone yaciye mu kirere.
The Chinese sent their spy balloons in Taiwan's air.
Donc ngo kubabwira ati ubu ngubu ibintu ndibimeze neza.
To warn them that things are going to escalate.
Intambara rero yabaye mu Burusiya batera Ukraine.
Now the war that took place between Russia attacking Ukraine
ntitandukanye n'iy'Ubushinwa itera Taiwan.
Is not different from the war between China attacking Taiwan.
Kuko Ukraine na Uburusiya buvuga ko ibice bimwe ari ibyabo.
Because Russia claims a part of the Ukraine belonging to them.
Kandi Ukraine ari yabo.
And Ukraine is theirs.
Ni nako rero Ubushinwa nabwo buvuga ngo tugomba gufata Taiwan tukayigarura.
And that same claim China makes as they wanting Taiwan to come back to the mainland.
Muri 2022 US Speaker bita Nancy Pelosi yagiyeyo ubwa mbere umudinyiteri ukomeye w'abanyamerika aja muri Taiwan. Barasara niho Jinping yabwiye Biden ngo mureke gukina n'umuriro.
And in 2022 US Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi became the highest ranking elected US official to travel to Taiwan. And this is when Jinping warned the US to not play with the fire.
Ejo bundi rero president musha baramutoye muri 2024.
In 2024 a new president was elected.
Witwa Lai Ching-te.
Lai Ching-te.
Lai Ching-te amaze gutorwa.
After he got elected.
Ibihugu byonyine byamushimiye ko yatowe nibike.
Only few countries congratulated him that he'd been
leta zunze ubumwe
elected.
za amerika,
The United States,
singapore
Singapore,
na philippines.
and the Philippines.
mu buryo ibyo byababaje ubushinwa mu buryo buteye ubwoba.
And this provoked China.
Uyu mugabo nawe amaze kujya ku butegetsi,
After the new president, Lai Ching-te, became a president,
nawe ntiyaboroheye.
he wasn't easy on them.
We yahise avuga ngo abashinwa
The Chinese,
bamubonye bahise bavuga ngo uwica amahoro arahageze.
when they saw him becoming a president, they say the peace,
uteza
the
amahoro.
destroyer of peace has arrived.
Nawe arabyiyemera akavuga ati ubu turaba Filipino nako turaba Taiwan, igihugu cyacu kigomba kuza.
And he said, we are Taiwanese and we shall restore our
The
democracy.
destroyer of peace.
Yet he is the destroyer of a peace, according to China.
Nawe akavuga ngo aba Taiwan twahagaze muri kote ya demokarasi, tuhagarariye nitwe demokarasi.
And he says, us Taiwanese, we stood by our democracy, and we are the democracy.
Uku niko bimeze uyu munsi.
And that's the current state.
Turi mu bihe rero.
Now we are in the times
Hari iyo tension
where there is this tension
mu buryo hashobora kubyuka iyo ntambara.
in the way that there are rumors of the war coming.
Reka turebe babashije kurwana uko byagenda.
What would happen if they would fight?
Taiwan
And Taiwan
iri mu bihugu bikomeye ubu mu buryo bwa technology.
is among the powerful countries technologically wise.
Ubu baguze bose intwaro bariteguye kurwana.
They have purchased their arms and they are ready to fight.
Taiwan nako ubushinwa bufite abasirikare miliyoni 2,335,000.
China has their forces, it's 2,305,000. 2 million?
Miliyoni 2,035,000 z'abantu.
2,035,000.
Taiwan yo
And Taiwan
ifite gusa 169,000.
only has 169,000.
Biteguye ko
They are ready.
Amerika ishobora kubafasha.
The US will support them.
Kandi yarabivuze Biden aravuga ngo turi inyuma yanyu.
And Biden declared it that they are behind Taiwan to support.
Ese uyu munsi
If today
babashije kurwana,
these two nations were to fight,
ubushinwa bugatera Taiwan,
China attacked Taiwan,
Amerika iratera.
would America also fight?
Amerika ivuga ko yiteguye kudefanda.
America,
Nubwo nubwo itakohereza ingabo zayo ariko irabaha ibikoresho cyangwa se irajyayo.
America says that they are behind Taiwan to support them. Maybe they won't go on war front to fight, but they will support them with arms as they've been doing.
Iyo ureba ubukire bwa Taiwan,
If you see on the economic wealth of Taiwan
mu by'ukuri ifite ubukire cyane cyane kubijyanye na semiconductor, no kuvuga ngo ibiyobora amashanyarazi.
Taiwan is more developed in semiconductors.
Ndetse no mu computer,
Even their computers,
no mu telefone yacu,
our telephones,
amachipe.
the chips.
Donc Taiwan iri hejuru cyane.
Taiwan is a leading.
Ubushinwa niburamuka buteye Taiwan,
If China was to attack Taiwan,
harayitaba crise mondiale muri economy, kuko ubisi kwira depana na technology. Kandi Taiwan ni mu bihugu bihambaye muri technology. Ibintu utu duchipe twose tugurwa hafi twinshi kwisi tuva muri Taiwan. Ibihugu bikomeye byose niho bigurira. Rero Amerika izemera n'Uburaya bazemera ko ubushinwa buitera ibyo bihagarare. Icyo ni ikindi kibazo nacyo.
so if China fights or attacks Taiwan, Taiwan being the leading world leading producers of the semiconductors, would America allow them to do? Because if they do get into fights, that means there will be world economic crisis.
Isi irahita yinjira neza muri crise.
the world will enter another era of crisis.
kuko ni igihugu gikize
Because
muri technology
this is a leading nation in technology.
kandi ariko reka mbanze mvuge ku bihugu 12 byemera ko Taiwan ibi gihugu.
But let me mention the 12 nations that support Taiwan to be a nation or be a democracy country.
Ni ibihugu byo muri East Asia na Pacifique, harimo Marshall Island,
there's Marshall Island,
Republic of
Palau,
na Tuvalu.
Now
muri Africa,
and in Africa,
ni Eswatini ariyo yitwa Swaziland,
Switzerland,
ariyo Eswatini, nico gihugu kishigikiye.
That's the only nation that supports. In Europe,
Vatican
is supporting. Or the Holy See.
Yeah. Hakabaho na muri Amerika Latine na Caraibe.
In Latin America and Caribbean.
Igihugu cha Belize.
There's Belize.
Guatemala.
The Republic of Guatemala. Haiti. Paraguay.
Iyo bita ngo ni Saint Kitts
and Nevis.
Na Saint Lucia.
Na
Saint Vincent na Grenadine.
Saint Vincent and Grenadines.
Ibi ni byo bihugu byemera ko Taiwan ari igihugu.
These are the only nations that supports Taiwan.
Kandi Taiwan ifite amafaranga igihugu cemeye bahita babaha imfashanyo nyinshi cyane.
And Taiwan being a wealthy country, each nation that supports them, they support them financially.
Bahita babaha amafaranga menshi cyane.
They support them with.
Babateza imbere.
They
nguko America igira USAID n'ibindi bihugu nabo bagira icyo kintu cyabo bahita baba amafaranga menshi cyane kuko mwabemereye.
Once a nation supports the Taiwan to become a nation not being linked to China, they support them economically.
Donc ifite rero icyo bita semiconductor market ku isi.
There are semiconductor market in the world.
Irakomeye.
It is very powerful.
Bavuga ko reka ndeba ha muri statistique ngo Taiwanese companies dominate the global semiconductor market.
Yeah, Taiwanese companies dominate the global yes.
Urumva isi yose aba ba Taiwan nibo, donc uturi muri area ya technology.
We are in an era of technology.
Aha niho rero point yanjye. And
this is my point
intambara igiye kuba.
The war that is about to happen.
Ni ya technology.
It is of technology.
Izabikomoka kuri technology.
That the source will be technology.
Kuko isi.
Because the world has entered into an era of technology.
Kurwanya Taiwan rero.
Fighting against Taiwan.
Nukwica technology.
You are fighting against technology.
Ese ibihugu bizemera.
So would the nation support this?
Ubushinwa rero nabwo bufite ikibazo.
So China is in danger as well.
Nidukwita Taiwan.
If they attack Taiwan,
iradufata gute?
The world, how would
America yiteguye gute?
How is America
Uburaya buri inyuma gute?
How is Europe ready to
ndetse n'ibihugu bidafite imbaraga gukubita technology uyu munsi cyane ibi by'ama semiconductor.
Even the still developing nations, they will still support them, especially those being dominated by semiconductors market.
Nukuvuga ngo za companies zikomeye ku isi zifite aya ma semiconductor yo ku isi zose zibarizwa muri Taiwan.
That means the greatest companies that you know that use the semiconductors, they are in Taiwan, or they're being under control of Taiwan. Company y'aba Taiwanese yitwa TSMC Taiwan. The Taiwanese company called TSMS.
Yonyine iproduza 67% n'ibice 7 cyangwa 67% y'ama semiconductor aja ku isi yose.
They produce
ama chip. Donc ututu aho electricity icha. Donc nukuvuga ngo nta technology, nta computer, nta television idafite ama semiconductor.
So they produce 56.7% of the global semiconductor. That means everything that you carry, being your telephone, your television, your laptops, everything is under them.
Societe yitwa Samsung y'abakore.
The Samsung of Koreans.
Ibice 8% n'ibice 5, hafi ibice 9 by'ibikoresha biva muri Taiwan.
Their production is 8.5% of semiconductor market in Taiwan.
Semiconductor nanone y'aba Taiwan yitwa UMC.
The UMC,
ibice 7 kwijana biri muri Taiwan.
they have 7.7% in Taiwan.
Leta zunze ubumwe za Amerika zifiteyo nayo nibo basohora 6 ku bice 6 kwijana by'amasemiconductor bibahe muri Taiwan bayita ngo ni global foundry.
And the global foundries in the United States, they have 6.6% in Taiwan.
Ibaze n'Ubushinwa bwayo.
Even China itself,
ibice 5 kwijana z'inganda zabo zikora amasemiconductor yitwa SMIC iba muri Taiwan.
and they are 5.4% of their SMIC, it is in Taiwan.
Yeah, bivuga ibice 7 bya market yabo biri baze ibice 7 byabo bitanu kuri bitanu biri muri Taiwan, 7 bya market yabo nibyo biri mu Bushinwa gusa.
That means the 5.4% is in Taiwan and 7% of their market is in China.
Taiwan nayo ifite icyo bita power chip technology igize isi ni ibice 2 kuri 4 kwijana.
And power chip technology of Taiwan is 2.4%.
Hong semiconductor y'Abashinwa igice kimwe n'ibice 6 ikorerwa muri biba muri nani company ba muri Taiwan.
Hong semiconductor of China 1.6% is also in Taiwan.
Icyo bita ngo ni Tower semiconductor ya Israeli igice kimwe n'ibice 5 iri muri Taiwan.
And Israel Tower semiconductor of 1.5% is in Taiwan.
Iyitwa Vice y'aba Taiwan nayo igice kimwe kuri 5 ya semiconductor naho ngaho.
And the Taiwan has 1.5% of their avis.
Izindi toshoboye kuvuga ni nyinshi cyane zirepresenta ibice 8 kuri 1 kwijana bikorerwa muri Taiwan.
And other mention that represent the semiconductors is 8.1%.
Bakaramuka rero bateye Taiwan.
By any means, if China attacks Taiwan or invades Taiwan,
biraza kuzana kao politique ndetse na kao economic.
It's going to affect the global economy and also politics.
Ikindi nanone niba China iteye Taiwan ikayitsinda biraba bigaragaza ko ubutegetsi bw'abanyagitugu none bukomeye ku isi. Ivyo biratuma Amerika ishoramo imbaraga zose, niyo mpamvu abanyaburaya OTAN NATO irimo ishora imbaraga zose mu kurwanya Putin kugira ngo abanyagitugu ngo bo ku isi niko ndavuga ivyo bavuga ngo batinjiramo.
And also if China successfully invades Taiwan, it will be encouraging authoritarian regimes to rule, and that's why they're actually fighting even Russia, because they do not want the authoritarian regimes to control and rule over.
Ndetse barwanyije donc amahame shingiro ya gahunda mpuzamahanga.
They're also being fighting against the core principles of international orders.
Bikagaragara rero ko Taiwan yabayeho kugira ngo ikomeze igire demokrasi ireshe Ubushinwa nabwo buzinjira muri demokrasi, kuko ifite story nziza muri Aziya yo igaragaza demokrasi nubwo benshi ari Abashinwa.
Taiwan is a democratic success story in Asia, showing that the majority of technically Chinese society can thrive under democracy.
Abasesenguzi rero bakavuga ngo Ubushinwa niburamuka bufashe Taiwan, demokrasi yabo izabiguye, abantu ibihumbi miliyoni 23 y'abavota bazaba binjiye mu kaga batazakira nkuko birutse kuba muri Hong Kong.
If China takes Taiwan, its democracy would be crushed and the rights of its 23 million people severely curtailed, just like what happened in Hong Kong.
Nubwo USA irimo igaragaza gukora n'Ubushinwa ngo bumvikane ndibakoreshe imbaraga muri Taiwan, ariko kari agace bita Taiwan Strait ari yanavuze intambara yayo irimo iragenda yiyongera umunsi ku wundi.
Given these stakes, the US must strengthen its efforts to deter China from using forces against Taiwan. While a military clash in the Taiwan Strait isn't imminent, the risk is growing.
Ubu ndimo mbabwira hari tension ikomeye hagati y'Ubushinwa na Taiwan.
As I speak, there is a great tension between China and Taiwan.
ntabwo byoroshye pe,
It is not easy.
ntabwo byoroshye.
It's not going to be
ubu
easy.
bose ko barakora imyitozo y'indege, intambara, amatanka akomeye arimo aradefira, ikirere kiruzuye, ikirere cya Taiwan kirimo indege z'abashinwa zirimo zigicamo.
As I'm saying right now, there's a great tension between China and Taiwan, soaring the heights of deploying warplane in the air. So they are training naval vessels in the mark.
Abashinwa ejo bundi baherutse gukora imyitozo iyo bavuze ngo ni iminsi 2 ngo yo gutesta intwaro zabo n'imbaraga zabo, none bayikorera hejuru y'ikirere cya Taiwan.
And Chinese recently, their military openly said they have a 2-day war games that are designed to test their armed
Jinping
forces.
arimo arakoresha abasirikare be kugira ngo atere ubwoba Lai Ching-te, amwumvishe ko agomba kwitonda.
And Jinping is flexing his military muscles in an effort to intimidate the new Taiwanese leader Lai Ching-te.
Taiwan China iravuga ngo bo baremera ko baba demokrate ariko ibe province y'Ubushinwa. Perezida Lai nawe akavuga ati ntibishoboka, aba Taiwan bagomba kudeside ejo habo hazaza.
China is to accept the reality of the self-governed island's de facto independence. China also views democratic governed Taiwan as a backward province, while Mr. Lai says only the Taiwanese people can decide their future.
Donc niko bimeze uyu munsi.
And that's what's happening.
Abantu rero bafite ubwoba.
And people are terrified.
Dukurikiye kuri intelligence y'abanyamerika.
If you follow on the US intelligence,
Perezida Jinping,
the president
yategetse abasirikare be arababwira ngo mwitegure ngo muri 2027 tuzatera Taiwan.
According to the US intelligence, Chinese President Jinping has instructed his country's military to be ready by the year 2027 to invade Taiwan.
Nukuvuga ko muri 2027 Ubushinwa ko barategura ibishoboka byose ngo bazafate Taiwan.
So Chinese is getting ready by the year 2027 to invade Taiwan.
Yaravuze ngo Taiwan tugomba kuyigarura ikaba igihugu kimwe na China.
He is determined to bring Taiwan reunited with the mainland, which is China.
Ngo ibindi bishoboka kugira ngo tubarekere ko bameze.
That it is impossible to leave them as they are.
Umukuru wa CIA cyangwa se iperereza ry'abanyamerika ryo hanze William Burns yavuze ko uyu Jinping arifuza gufata Taiwan mu buryo bukomeye bw'ingenzi.
The CIA director William
ngo nubwo batakoresha n'abasirikare bazayifata.
He said that the US must take Ms. Jing's desire to seize control of Taiwan very seriously, even if military conflict is not inevitable. He says even if the conflict is not inevitable.
Yeah. Donc aremeza ko bagomba kuyifata.
So he is ready to take over
muri 2027
in the year 2027 or by the year 2027.
Ariko akavuga ngo ibindi bivuze ko
he said that it doesn't mean though that
azategeza 2027 ashobora no kubikorana mbere.
That it will be by
donc 27 donc Taiwan igomba kuba yamaze kuba igihugu kimwe.
Chinese plans to invade Taiwan by the year 2027, but this doesn't mean that it will wait until the year 2027. It could be even before.
Rero abanaliste benshi bavuga ko ibi bisa n'ibyenda guhura ibya Vladimir Putin hamwe mu gutera Ukraine hamwe na Jinping nawe mu gutera Taiwan, kwibi bifite aho bifita gisano.
Many analysts have drawn a parallel between Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine and Mr. Xi's inspirations of Taiwan.
Yeah. Ariko akavuga ati nanone ntibyoroshe kuko na Putin nawe byaramunaniye biramugoye cyane agenda yitonda kugira ngo abashe kugera hariya kuko yagize ibisitaza byinshi bimubuza kugera ku ntego.
He said, but it's not going to be easy. Even Vladimir Putin's had failed. He has not reached his plans.
Ikibazo ni iki rero, ese Taiwan izabishobora yonyine? Naberetse umubare w'ingabo bafite.
Now there's a question, could Taiwan defeat itself without any other support?
Benshi bavuga ko ikari ikibazo kiri seriye, abantu bagomba kubitekerezaho cyane, kuko muri interview uwitwa Joseph Hu yaravuze ngo aratekeza ko 2027 abantu bagomba kuba serious.
People say Chinese military threat to Taiwan is very serious, and they believe that by the year 2027 they need to be serious about that as well. This was spoken by Joseph.
Gusa muri 2024 uyu mwaka turimo,
but in this year 2024
Ministeri ya Defense ya Taiwan yongereye amafaranga kuri miliyarde 19 z'amadolari.
Taiwan increased its defense budget for 2024 to a record of 19
billion.
Their record was 19 billion.
Bagura intwaro zikomeye,
purchasing weapons,
bashiraho ama submarine,
expanding their submarines,
bategura abantu,
getting people
intwaro zitandukanye,
all kinds of weapons.
Baragerageza gukora uko bashoboye.
They have tried to be ready.
Ariko nanone ibyo ndibikanganye cyane kuko Ubushinwa nabwo buriteguye bufite izindi ntwaro nyinshi.
But this is not as much as China, because China is also ready.
Ifite abasirikare benshi.
They have a great army.
Mu buryo ese bizavamo intambara y'abasivile, bizavamo ikidonke, abantu ntibazi kizaba.
They want to know if there will be their civil war or if civilians will be part of it. They do not know what to expect.
Ibi birimo biragaragaza ko hari ikintu kiri mu nzira.
But this is showing that there's something coming. There's something
happening. N'ibihuha ruma y'intambara ibyo Yesu yavuze bigaragaza ibimenyetso by'ibihe bya nyuma.
The war and the rumors of war Jesus spoke that are the signs of the end of the age.
Aha, ni ibintu tugomba kureba. Baravuga ngo Ubushinwa bufite ingabo nyinshi kandi zigerageza. Bavuga ko bafite nibura miliyoni 2 y'abasirikare bahari n'ibihumbi 510 muri reserve. Taiwan ikaba bafite ibihumbi 169 gusa. Abo nibo basirikare baraho.
It is still
ariko ngo bafashwa na miliyoni 600 y'abasivile nabo babagiriye bemeye kurwana babageriye.
It is still drafted by China, which has the largest armed forces in the world by active duty military personnel, with over 2 million active soldiers and 510,000 in reserved. Taiwan, in comparison, has only 169,000 active military personnel, but it could be backed up by some 1.6 million civilian warriors.
Because
the civilians are also ready to fight.
Iyi ni statistic iva muri International Institute for Strategic Studies.
This is a statistic based on
data from the
International Institute for Strategic Studies.
Yeah. Iyo ureba hano isi rimijya.
So when you see where we are heading as the world,
ni ibintu bitoroshe.
It's not going to be easy. It doesn't
seem to be easy. Aka gataburo gatoya.
Just let me share with you the table here.
Uko imbaraga zingana.
The forces, comparing their forces.
Yeah. Hagati ya China na Taiwan.
Between China and
haramutse habaye intambara.
If a war was to start.
Abasirikare bari ku butaka. Abasirikare bose.
The total active forces.
Mu Bushinwa bakora ni miliyari 235 igihumbi.
2,035,000.
Naho aba Taiwan ni ijana n'ibihumbi 169.
And Taiwan total forces 1,069.
Kuko mubibona kuri yo tab.
As you see it on the screen.
Abasirikare bari ku butaka.
The ground forces.
Ni ibihumbi 955.
For China is 965,000.
Taiwan ni 94 gusa.
Taiwan they only have 94,000. Their navy
ni ibihumbi 260 z'Abashinwa, naho Taiwan ni ibihumbi 40.
260,000 of Chinese and only 40,000 of Taiwan.
Naho mu kirere
Air Force
ni indege ibihumbi 395, muri Taiwan ni ibihumbi 35.
395,000, where in Taiwan it's only 35,000.
abasirikare b'inkeragutabara bategereje igihe babahamagara ngo baze kurwana. Ubushinwa ni 510,000 ariko muri Taiwan ni 1,657,000.
Their reserves in China it's 510,000, and Taiwan is 1,657,000.
Naho amatanke amablende
The tanks,
mu Bashinwa ni 4,800 naho muri Taiwan ni 750.
Chinese have 4,800. Taiwan is only 750.
Naho indege
Their aircraft
z'intambara
ni
3,438 mu Bushinwa birenga, ariko muri Taiwan ni 531 birenga. Bishobora kwiyongera bitewe nuko ibindi bihugu bigenda bifasha cyangwa se bafite izindi ziri ruhande.
The aircraft in China, there are 3,438, and could be more, and in Taiwan it's 531. That also could be more or less.
Ibigendera munsi y'amazi, indege zo munsi y'amazi submarine ni 59 z'Abashinwa, naho Taiwan ni 4.
There are submarines in China, there are 59. In Taiwan, they have 4.
Naho amato ariho intwaro zikomeye indege zishobora kwituraho niki mu Bushinwa ni 92, ariko mu Buyapani 26.
There are naval ships in China, there are 92. In Taiwan, there are 26.
Naho artillery cyangwa se ibifaru bikubita bitanke bibyohereza, Abashinwa ni 9,752, naho muri Taiwan ni 2,293,000. Ibihumbi 2,000 urakoze 93. Thank you.
Their artillery in China, there are 9,752, and that also could be more. And in Taiwan, they only have 2,093.
Ibi rero,
so this that
Amerika iriteguye.
Is America ready
kurwana
to fight?
Muri 2022 Joe Biden yaravuze ngo,
in the year 2022, Joe Biden said this.
Tuzarwanira Taiwan.
They offered US protection for Taiwan. They would defend Taiwan.
Ingabo za imbaraga za Amerika zizarwanira Taiwan kugira ngo shini tayitere.
He said American forces would defend Taiwan in the event of the Chinese invasion.
Ibi byazanye yego uburakari bw'Abashinwa, bituma ndetse na relation hagati y'Ubushinwa na Amerika itagenda neza.
And this came at the cost of angering China, and at time the relationship was shaken.
Mu buryo bwa gisirikare na diplomasi,
diplomatically and militarily,
Abanyamerika bashigikiye guverinoma ya Taiwan.
The Americans backed up the Taiwan's government.
Kandi barimo barakurikirana umunsi ku munsi uko ubukana burimo bugenda buzamuka hariya kuri ya nkengero y'amazi.
And they are watching the rising tension day by day by the Taiwan Strait.
Abanyamerika bafite ubwato bukomeye cyane bita ngo ni Navy 7th Fleet. Nibwo burimo bucunga bureba ibirimo bibaha muri Indo-Pacific, muri inyanja ya Indo-Pacific aho yo muri Asia aho Ubuhindi na Pacific bihurira.
The US Navy 7th Fleet is paying attention to all of the activities in Indo-Pacific.
Niko baherutse kuvuga ngo ni ibintu bikomeye.
And that's what they say, adding that it's serious.
Umuyobozi ukomeye muri Amerika General Steven Sklenka yavuze ko mu by'ukuri ibintu bitarimo bigenda neza, aravuga ngo ni ibintu bishobora kuba vuba cyane kandi bitazahagarara, ngo nubwo abantu barimo bavuga ngo bihagarare batari ko ni ibintu byihuta.
The senior US General Stephen Sklenka called for de-escalation of the tension, saying that an attack is not inevitable or imminent in spite of the standoff seen this week.
Ikindi nanone yavuze Lieutenant General Stephen Sklenka we yavuze ko ngo bizagaragara ko hari abantu benshi, umubare w'abantu benshi uzapfa, ndetse n'amatrillion ama miliyoni n'amamiliyoni yageretse ku yandi y'amadolari ngo azahagwira. No kuvuga ngo bizaba ibintu bikomeye cyane, ndetse no kugira ngo abantu bagarure amahoro y'isi bizaba ibintu bikomeye. Amahoro ndetse na stability byari bigize imyaka 80 abona ko bigiye kuzapfa. Ngo niyo mpamvu tugomba gukorera hamwe ngo duhagarike iyi ntambara. Niko Lieutenant General Steven Sklenka yavuze. Uyu nguyu ni umukomando ukomeye uri muri US Indo-Pacific Commander.
Lieutenant General Stephen Sklenka, being the Deputy Commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, he said this: at stake would be untold numbers of lives, the trillions of dollars in the global economic damage, and the maintenance of an international order that has delivered relative peace and stability over the past 80 years. And he said, and that's why we need to work together to prevent this conflict.
Bavandimwe,
Brethren,
kuki nafata uyu mwanya mbabwira ibi?
why did I take this time explaining
Uyu munsi
this?
ntiyakiri Babiloni ni Perse n'Ubugiriki.
Today there's no longer Babylon, Persia, and Greek.
Babiloni y'uyu munsi ni za Chine, ni za Amerika, ni z'Uburusiya, ni hehe?
Today's Babylon and Persia is US, China, and
Abasoma
Russia.
Bibiliya,
Those who read Bible,
ntimwirengagize iki kintu.
do not neglect this,
Kwica amasezerano.
the breach of covenant.
Intambara ziriho.
The war that you see,
Hari amasezerano yagiye apfa.
the covenant that were breached.
Mu buryo bw'amasezerano,
Is covenant speaking. Taiwan
yakagombye kuba iri mu Bushinwa, mu Buyapani.
is supposed to be in Japan,
Ariko siko bimeze.
but that's not how it is.
Abayapani bamaze kurekura.
After the Japanese
Ni
release,
nkaho Abanyamerika bafashe.
the Americans took over,
Ariko none abatawanize baravuga ati turashaka kwigenga.
and Taiwanese said they want their own democracy.
Abandi bati no muri Abashinwa.
But others will say, no, you belong to the mainland China.
Koko nabandi.
But who are they?
Isi
Where do
ni
they
yande.
belong? Whose the world is
Kuki umuntu
this?
avuka mu gitondo kuva ku isariye.
Why would one wake up in the morning wanting the control of the world?
Ibirimo byinshi.
There are many things in it,
Kwiki isezerano.
but the man is the breach of the
Mu gihe
covenant.
gito.
In the brief time,
Ibihugu biba byarasinye ayo masezerano y'amabanga.
there are secret treaties that were signed.
Ubutaha nzavugana namwe kuri Hong Kong.
Next time I will speak about Hong Kong.
Nzababwira amasezerano nanone y'amabanga yandi yari yarasinywe.
I will also touch base on their secret treaties that were made.
Umbabarire uzakurikire.
Please follow me next time.
Ibi ndimo ndabizana
But I'm bring this to light
kubw'impamvu.
for a purpose.
Isi
This world
abasenga musenga.
and the prayer people continue to pray.
Abakunda Imana mushaka Imana.
Those who love God seek His side.
Abatarakizwa namwe
And those who are yet to be born,
muve mu miteto.
do not be
Spoiled.
spoiled.
Ntimuba abantu ntibindeba.
Do not be distracted that you don't care.
Nimukore mu buryo.
Work,
Dusenga.
but also pray.
Dushaka Imana.
Seek the face of
Kugira
God
ngo iduhe amahoro.
so He can give us the peace we need.
Atari ibyo.
Otherwise,
Ibihuha
the rumors
n'intambara
and the wars,
ko biraza.
they are coming.
Ngo ariko imperuka izaba itaraza.
But the end will yet to be come.
Imperuka izaza ryari.
When would the end come?
Abantu bamaze kumva.
When people have heard,
Ubutumwa bw'ubwami bumaze gukwira.
when the gospel of the kingdom have reached
Ese
everywhere.
turimo turakora ngo ubutumwa bugende.
Are we working in a way the gospel of the kingdom
Imana
is
ifuza
being?
ko abantu bakizwa.
God desires that people will be saved.
Bayimenye
They know Him
kuko ibintu si byiza.
because the things are changing.
Murakoze cyane.
Thank you so much
Kuba mwabanye nawe.
for being with me.
Imana iduhe imbaraga.
May God enable
Imana
us.
ibakomeze.
May God strengthen
Imana
you.
ndasaba ngo bituvuze
God, I pray that this that we
Ukore ku
say
bantu
here
bawe.
will touch your
No ku bana
people
bawe.
and your children.
mu izina rya
In the
Yesu.
name of Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
Murakoze.